Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the MLB slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, August the 5th. We do have another 10-game slate today. We're going to break down the slate, start off at pitcher like we always do, go through the pitcher-player pool. I'll talk about the guys that stand out to me the most looking at the slate the night before, give you the guys that I feel like I'm going to be playing in my lineups. I'm not going to talk about every single pitcher, just the ones that I have the most interest in. We'll do that for DraftKings. We'll take a look at a couple of guys I like on Yahoo as well. Then we'll go through, talk about 3 specific hitters I like, and then towards the end of the video, we will cover some stacks as well. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you would like, you can check out all my exclusive content I do have to offer on Patreon. The Patreon is linked down below in the description. I do have articles over there that I post Monday through Friday. I'll have a full breakdown for this MLB slate. I'll have a breakdown for the NBA slate today as well. I'll have updated core plays for both NBA and MLB. I'll have some home run calls for this MLB slate. And also, I'll be in Discord throughout the day to answer any questions. You can get in our Discord chat, ask me any questions if you want to just talk through the slate, talk roster construction, lineup construction. We do that in the Discord, so definitely check out the Patreon, see all that I have to offer over there. Drop a like, subscribe, and let's go ahead and take a look at today's slate. So we'll start off at the top of the pitcher-player pool. Yu Darvish is our most expensive pitcher today. He's $10,400 in a matchup against the Royals. I do like the spot quite a bit for Yu Darvish. Darvish looked really good in his last start. That strikeout stuff, it looked good. Pitched 6 shutout innings against the Pirates. Only allowed 2 hits, 1 walk, got 7 strikeouts, finished with 29 DraftKings points. He was, a little off in his first start against the Brewers, but really turned it around last start against Pittsburgh. Darvish is a guy that I think is worth, paying up for today. I'm not going to include him in my early core plays, but I do have some interest in Yu Darvish at 10-4. Right now, I believe the Royals do have the lowest implied run total on the slate, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I think, Texas. So Texas has the lowest implied run total at 3.5 runs, and then the Royals are the second lowest, 3.7 runs. The Cubs are big favorites here at minus 209, so, it's very likely Yu Darvish is able to get a win if he can pitch deep enough to qualify for the win. I do like him quite a bit at 10-4. The Royals aren't a team that, strikes out a ton. Last year against righties, in terms of K rate, they were about middle of the pack, 23% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. But it's a pretty weak lineup overall. Definitely a lineup that Darvish should be able to get through pretty easily. So I do like him quite a bit at 10-4. I think Mike Clevinger might be a little too cheap. I don't love the matchup against the Reds. This Reds lineup is definitely scary. They have a lot of good hitters. They added Nick Castellanos. They added Mike Moustakas. They have Shogo at the top of that lineup. That's a pretty good hitter. You obviously got Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez. It's a tough lineup. Mike Clevinger, though, for 9,200, I have some interest in him. Looked good in his first start against the Royals, but then really struggled last start against the Twins. That kind of makes sense. Tough matchup there against the Twins. I do expect Clevinger to bounce back here. I don't know if this is a game where he's going to go out there and just absolutely mow down the Reds. I feel like they could definitely, maybe get to him once or twice with maybe a home run or 2. But I still feel like, at 9,200, there's upside there for Clevinger. So I do have interest in him. But I think my favorite SP1 today is probably Dylan Bundy. Dylan Bundy I like a lot at $9K on DraftKings. On Yahoo, he's pretty affordable too, $51, $9 less than Clevinger, $12 less than Darvish. Definitely like Bundy over on Yahoo as well. So Dylan Bundy has looked really good just through 2 games with the Angels, through 2 starts. Against Oakland, he pitched 6 2/3 innings, only allowed 3 hits, 1 run, got 7 Ks, 28 DraftKings points, and then his last start, which was against Seattle, pitched 6 innings, allowed 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 home run. Did get 8 strikeouts though in that matchup, finished with about 20 DraftKings points. This is a very favorable matchup for Bundy. I talked about Andrew Heaney on Tuesday and why I liked him so much against Seattle. Right now, Heaney's having a pretty decent game last time I checked. I'm going to be going right back to, to these Angels pitchers looking to attack Seattle. They're just not that good of a lineup. They do have strikeouts in their lineup as well. Last season, against right-handed pitching, Seattle did have the 4th highest K rate in the league at 25.8%. We just look at their projected lineup for tomorrow. it's pretty weak overall. Just not a lot of hitters you're really scared of. Their best hitter in this lineup is probably like Kyle Lewis, if I had to guess. If I had just give my opinion on who I think their best hitter is. But like J.P. Crawford, Shed Long, Kyle Seager, Austin Nola, Evan White, Jose. These just aren't guys you're scared of. I mean, really like Bundy here. Right now they're saying Tehran's going to pitch, but I think it's going to be Bundy. Last time I checked, I probably need to check MLB.com because usually MLB.com is pretty accurate when it comes to starting pitchers. Fantasy Labs has it as Bundy, Fantasy Labs has it as Tehran, but I think it's going to be Bundy. Okay, so it's actually, it says to be determined on MLB.com, so we don't know yet who's going to pitch here for the Angels. I'm assuming it's going to be Bundy. I guess we'll see, though. If he doesn't wind up starting, then we'll have to make some changes. I guess we could maybe consider Tehran. I think Tehran's a decent price. Let me check. I know he hasn't made a start yet this season. He's 7,500. Let's just see what it says here. Tehran is expected to throw at least once more at the team's alternate training site before joining the big league club. Specific return date for Tehran remains undecided. He will make his Angels debut before next weekend. Okay, so I don't really know who it's going to be. I guess, we'll have to just wait and see here. I'm guessing it's going to be Bundy. I mean, Bundy's like the probable pitcher on Yahoo, and he's the probable pitcher on Draftkings. So we'll just wait and see. If it is Bundy, I like him a lot at 9K. If he doesn't wind up pitching, then, obviously we'll know this before lock. Then maybe you could pivot to Tehran. But I'm going to talk about some other guys I like that you could take out or that you could replace Bundy with if he's not the starter. But yeah, so other guys we could consider. So Sean Manaea, love this matchup for him against the Rangers. The Rangers are terrible against left-handed pitching. They have a ton of strikeouts in their lineup against lefties. They were one of the worst teams in the league last season against left-handed pitching. But Manaea has been really bad so far, and it's kind of concerning. He's gotten kind of roughed up in his first two starts this season against the Angels and the Mariners. I actually thought he would, pitch a pretty good game against the Mariners, and he still struggled there. Gave up 5 runs, 3 earned runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts. But still, I think his velocity's been a little bit down recently as well, which is kind of concerning. If you want to take a shot on Manaea, I mean, I don't mind it just because the matchup is so good. For what it's worth, the Rangers do have the lowest implied run total on the slate. Manaea is really cheap on Yahoo too. I mean, he's $34 over here. Like, he's $1 less than McCullers, $1 less than Robbie Ray. He's cheaper than guys like Hauser and Stripling. So I do like taking the shot on Manaea. If you're playing a lot of lineups, I would definitely have him in my player pool. If I'm only playing one lineup today, though, I don't know if Manaea makes the cut. He just might be a little bit too risky. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see him, have his first good start of the season. This is the matchup to do it. I mean, great pitcher's park, great matchup, a team that strikes out a lot. I do like Manaea a good amount, especially if he's going to be low owned. Lance McCullers you could go to against Arizona. I just don't love that matchup. I mean, Arizona, decent lineup, not a ton of strikeouts. I think there's guys for cheaper that I'd rather roster. One of those guys is Ross Stripling. So I talked about it in Tuesday's video. This Padres team against right-handed pitching, they got some power hitters, but they also have a ton of strikeouts. Last season against righties, they had the second highest K rate in the league at 26.5%. And, as I'm recording this video Tuesday night, I like Dustin May a lot Tuesday, and he's having a really good game. I think he has 8 strikeouts through 6 innings. Now, I don't know if Ross Stripling is going to, get 8 strikeouts through 6 innings, but this is a guy that does have K upside, especially against right-handed pitchers. He is better against righties than lefties, and this Padres lineup is very right-handed heavy. Right now, the only projected lefties in their lineup are Trent Grisham, Cronenworth, Naylor, Mejia, and Profar. I mean, those will be the lefties. We might not even see some of those guys in there. But Tatis, I mean, he's a great hitter, probably one of the, young, talented, elite hitters in this league. But this is a guy that still strikes out over 30% of the time. Manny Machado will K. Tommy Pham, I believe, has about a 21 or 22% K rate against righties. Will Myers will strike out. There are plenty of strikeouts in this Padres lineup. Low 3.8 implied run total as well. And one thing that we love to see is that Ross Stripling, he's pitching deep into games, 92 pitches, 86 pitches. This was a guy that, you could really, I wouldn't say you could never play, but it just felt like he would always get pulled so early. He'd get pulled after 70 pitches. Well, they've been letting him go way deeper into games. So the upside's there for Ross Stripling at 7,800. I like him a lot as an SP2 option. On Yahoo, he's pretty cheap over there too, $37, I think. Ross Stripling makes a lot of sense as an SP2 to target on Yahoo as well. But some other guys we could maybe consider. So it's not the best strikeout matchup for Randy Domnack, but he's 7,200 and he's facing the Pirates. The Pirates do have a pretty weak lineup. It's not the best lineup overall. Like I said, not a lot of strikeouts. They had one of the lowest K rates against righties last season. But you look at this lineup from top to bottom. I mean, the only hitters you're probably worried about are like Josh Bell. And that's probably it, honestly. Like, there's some easy outs at the bottom of the lineup with like Jacob Stallings, Jared Dyson. Definitely have some interest in Domnack. Another guy that's a pretty heavy favorite, minus 185. Even on the road, a pretty heavy favorite. But even like John Gray, I could see going to, I never feel good about rostering pitchers in cores, but John Gray, he's a talented pitcher. And the Giants have such a bad lineup that, I could see taking a pitcher against them, even though it's Coors Field. I think Herman Marquez had a pretty good game Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken. He obviously was pitching in Coors Field, so I do like Gray at 7K, even in Coors Field. I think there's definitely upside for him against a weak Giants lineup. But then talking about value plays under 7K, I mean, not much to like down here. So I don't really know much about TJ Antone, this guy from the Reds, but he's 4K. He's minimum salary on DraftKings, and he is expected to start for the Reds today. He threw 69 pitches in his last appearance. I believe that was a relief appearance. So he seems fully stretched out, could probably go 75, 80 pitches today if he's pitching well. And I don't know if this is a mistake or not, but I mean, the Indians only have a 4.2 implied run total, so that must, that makes me assume this Antone guy, he's not bad. At 4K, I don't have a problem with him here against the Indians. A 4.2 implied run total against him, like, that is really, really low for a guy that's 4K. Can go, 75, 80 pitches. Even if he gets you like 10 points, like, that doesn't kill your lineup at 4K. Like, I'm so down to roster pitchers when they're like minimum salary. Like, I'll roster any pitcher at minimum salary. I talked about Alex Cobb. I think the last time he was on the slate, he was minimum salary. I think he went out there and got like, 15 or 16 DraftKings points, and that's pretty good when you're 4K. I think there's hitters that are 4K, so getting 16 points from a hitter is, obviously great. Getting 16 points from a 4K player, even though it's a pitcher, that's still great too. So I do like TJ Antone quite a bit as a cheap option. I think punting with him makes plenty of sense, especially if you want to pay up for an expensive stack. Like, if you want to go to the Rockies or some of the other expensive stacks on the slate, you're going to need some value. So Antone at 4K makes plenty of sense in my opinion as a cheap option. If Dylan Bundy doesn't wind up pitching, you could take him out of here and then replace him with Antone, and you just have a ton of salary to work with for your hitters. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm looking at for pitcher today. Those are the guys that, really stand out to me the most. I don't think I'm really going to be playing anyone else, or at least, have a good amount of exposure to anyone else. So let's go ahead and talk about some bats now that I like. So one team that I like quite a bit, not going to go with Coors Field just yet. We'll talk about Coors in a second. But first off, I really like the White Sox here. I think they might be a team that goes, somewhat overlooked today. They only have a 4.8 implied run total. I like this spot for them against Adrian Hauser. Adrian Hauser is not a bad pitcher by any means. Has a 25% K rate to lefties, 25% K rate to righties, so a decent strikeout pitcher, but still does struggle to lefties a decent amount. I mean, gave up a 347 WOBA to lefties last season. Did give up some home runs too, 1.16 home runs per nine to lefties, 1.11 to righties. I just love this White Sox lineup so much. I mean, this lineup is just so talented top to bottom. There's really no easy outs. I mean, maybe Garcia and like Madrigal are easy outs, but 1 through 6, so much power. I know there's some strikeouts in this lineup, but the power is what really does it for me. Guys like Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, Abreu, Grandal, Encarnacion, Eloy Jimenez, even Nomar Mazara has some power. The 1 through 7 I really like from this lineup, and we'll start off with Yohan Moncada. He's one of my favorite plays today. Love the spot for Moncada. $4,300 on DraftKings I think is way too cheap. He's expensive on Yahoo. He's $21. Like, he's cheaper, or he's more expensive than Nolan Arenado in Coors Field. So that makes me assume that like nobody's going to be playing Moncada on Yahoo, which makes him a very appealing tournament option, especially given, a lot of people are just going to play Arenado in Coors, which obviously, you could do that. I mean, Arenado's hot right now. Homered on Tuesday, homered on Monday and homered on Tuesday, so he's had home runs in back-to-back games. He's seeing the ball well right now. The freaking Rockies having another 7 implied run total again. But I still like going to some of these White Sox bats. I think it's a great spot for them. I think they're underpriced on DraftKings. Moncada's only $4,300, a dude with a ton of power. Much better against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. Although he is a switch hitter, you do want to roster him against right-handed pitchers. And this is a guy that just has so much power. If he gets on base, he can steal bases. The only problem, I think it's the strikeouts. Like, if Moncada can cut down on the strikeouts, this guy is going to be a top 10 hitter in the league, within the next couple of years. I think he just strikes out too much. That's his problem now. This dude has so much power, though. I mean, just such a good hitter. I think he's probably one of the more underrated players in the league, if you ask me. Honestly, he could be like a dark horse for MVP, just in my opinion. Love this spot for Moncada. I think he's too cheap on DraftKings. I think Luis Robert also looks really good as well. Leading off right now with no Tim Anderson in the lineup. Just seeing the ball really well right now. Look at the game log. 31, 7, 21 DK points. A dude that just has so much power. Another young, talented hitter that the White Sox have. A ton of speed as well. Can steal bases. Had 2 stolen bases the other day against Milwaukee. 4,300, feels too cheap for this guy, honestly, when he's leading off with the power that he has, the speed that he has, just the upside in general. I know I'm going to be stacking the White Sox, so I'm going to have a ton of Robert, a ton of Moncada. Between Abreu and Encarnacion, Encarnacion is questionable right now. We'll have to see if he'll be in the lineup. If he's not, then you could obviously play Abreu at first base. But Grandal, I think, is probably my favorite catcher play today if you can fit him in. I really like Eloy Jimenez in the outfield. Mazzara is a cheap outfielder you can play at 3,600. Don't mind Garcia or Madrigal, but I'll probably just be sticking through for the 1 through 7. Like, those are the guys I like the most here for the White Sox. And like I said, 4.8 implied run total. Not going to catch a ton of attention. People aren't going to see that, or people are going to see a 4.8 implied run total and probably just shy away. I still like the White Sox here. I just love their lineup. I think they have the potential, to put up runs against any pitcher. And Adrian Hauser, decent pitcher, but not a guy I'd be afraid to stack against here, given this really talented lineup. So, love the White Sox. And then, obviously, we need to talk about the Rockies. So, the Rockies, seems like every slate, just as of late, have an incredibly high run total. They're in Coors Field again here against the Giants. It seems like Logan Webb is going to be the pitcher. That's not confirmed yet, but just looking at Fantasy Labs, looking at, DraftKings probable pitcher list, they have Logan Webb in there, and assuming it is Logan Webb, this is a spot where I definitely want to attack him with some Rockies bats. David Dahl, probably one of my favorite Rockies bats, but, you can't really go wrong with any of them, especially with how well they're hitting the ball right now, with how many runs they're scoring. But I do like Dahl quite a bit. He's $19 on Yahoo. He's pretty expensive on DraftKings, but I think he's worth the salary at $5,500. You look at his numbers in Coors Field, like when he plays in Coors, he's just so much better. Pretty much goes for all the Rockies hitters. To no surprise, they all hit the ball much better in Coors. Dahl, Story, Blackman, Arenado have much better numbers at home. Murphy, too. They all do. But this is a guy that, just has a ton of power, has some speed, too, can steal bases. I don't think he has any stolen bases on the season, but he is a threat to run. Okay, he actually does have 1 stolen base. A guy that is a threat to run. Like I said, a ton of power. No home runs on the season, but does have good power against right-handed pitching. And if we look at Logan Webb, he's actually been worse against righties just as of late, just like last year. Didn't pitch a ton last year. Only faced about, just doing the math in my head, about 170 batters to both sides of the plate. Gave up a 380 WOBA to righties, a 302 WOBA to lefties. If we look at the home runs, gave up more home runs to righties as well. So it seems like, Logan Webb is kind of reverse split, struggles more to righties. But that's not going to keep me off of guys like David Dahl, Charlie Blackman, Daniel Murphy. I still like these guys. They have the platoon advantage against Webb. But, the righties, given how bad Webb was against righties, that's going to make guys like Story, Arenado. If Matt Kim is still in the lineup, he's been in the lineup the last few games. If he's in the lineup today, you could play him. Chris Owings is really cheap, so you could definitely play him. I like this Rockies lineup top to bottom. I think they're going to be a top stack for me again. It's just hard to get away from when they're facing really bad pitchers. They have incredibly high run totals. We've got cheap pitching on the slate. We got the 4K guy that I talked about that I have interest in. You got, who's other? I think there was another cheap pitcher I mentioned that I forgot about. You got Ross Stripling, who's 7,800. You could play him. But, yeah, you got this Antone guy for 4K. I do like as a value. So, should be able to get some full Rocky stacks in. Really like David Dahl. On Yahoo, I do like Daniel Murphy a lot over there. He's $15, which I think is just a little bit too cheap. He's been too cheap on Yahoo just the last few slates. They've been keeping him around $14, $15. He was $14 the other day. And like I said, although Logan Webb struggles more to righties than lefties, this is still a spot where I'm fine attacking him with some of the left-handed bats. Story, or Dahl, Blackman, Murphy, McMahon. McMahon wasn't in the lineup Tuesday, but I assume he's going to be in the lineup today. If you see like Tapia or Hilliard crack the lineup, then you could definitely go to those guys as well. Like I said, just really this whole Rockies lineup is in play for me. I just don't think Logan Webb is very good. Not a guy that really gets Ks. Does give up some power to righties. I don't expect him to be good versus lefties either, especially not in Coors Field. So really like the Rockies. Really like the White Sox too as an under-owned team. But yeah, I think that's it for like pitchers and just a couple bats for today. I know I didn't talk about every single hitter. I do go more in depth on all the hitters I like on the slate over on Patreon in my article. So if you want to get access to my article for this slate, it'll be posted around, probably 1 o'clock Eastern time, about 4 to 5 hours before lock. I'll have my updated core plays posted on Patreon as well, about 2 to 3 hours before lock. I'll have some home run calls posted over there too. And like I said, I'll be in Discord throughout the day to answer any questions, to talk through the slate with you guys. So if you want to check out the Patreon content, that is linked down below in the description. But before we get out of here, I do want to give you guys some of my favorite stacks for tonight. So obviously, the Rockies, the White Sox, two teams I like quite a bit. But some other teams we can maybe target. Trevor Williams is not a guy that I think, is very good. He's just about an average pitcher. Definitely a guy you could stack against. I don't like the ballpark, but the Twins have such a good lineup. They're really, really cheap. The only hitter even close to 5K is Nelson Cruz. Everyone else is about 4K and below. Kepler's 4,100. Jorge Polanco's 3,900. Definitely like the Twins here against Trevor Williams. Hyun-Jin Ryu, not really a pitcher I stack against, but the Braves just have such a good lineup. I think I said this in yesterday's video. Like, I stack the Braves pretty much every day. I'll probably stack them here. They'll probably be in at least one of my, I usually play about 10 lineups for MLB. They'll probably be in one of my 10 lineups tomorrow, one of my stacks. Just love the Braves lineup top to bottom. So much power, so much upside. Even a guy like Ryu, a good pitcher, but he's shown he can get rocked at times, and the Braves, just have such a good lineup. They could definitely do some damage against him here. The Cubs against Bublik could definitely be interesting. Like Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, these righties against a lefty, I do have some interest in. The Cubs are pretty expensive, though. You're not getting a ton of value here, which kind of sucks. But yeah, there's not a ton of stacks that really stand out. Like, there's no crazy high totals today. You obviously have the Coors game, but other than that, like, there's no 5.8, 5.9 totals. The next highest total besides the Coors game, I think, is the Cubs at 5.4. And you got the Astros at 5.4 as well. I have some interest in the Astros against Robbie Ray. Like, Robbie Ray, a pitcher that I've actually played a lot, especially the last couple of years, but this isn't the spot for him. He seems to be going down a hill as well. This used to be a guy that could go out there and mow down teams, and that's not the case right now. Robbie Ray has really been struggling, giving up a lot of home runs, giving up runs, not getting many strikeouts. Against the Astros, you don't expect him to have a ton of success here. So they're interesting. They're very expensive as well. The top three guys are really expensive, but Gurriel 4,100, Carlos Correa 4,300, a little bit of value there, but I feel like I'm going to be really heavy on the Rockies and the White Sox tonight. I'll have some Braves sprinkled in. I'll have some Cubs, some Twins sprinkled in, but my core stacks are probably going to be the White Sox and Rockies. But yeah, guys, I think we covered everything. Talked about bats, a couple hitters, some stacks, some pitchers I like for tonight. I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I really do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, just make sure you hit that like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, like I said earlier, you can check out my Patreon content link down below. Also, be sure to give me a follow on Twitter. That's linked down below in the description. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so if you want to stay up to date with me or ever you need to contact me, you can do so on Twitter. My DMs are always open, but best of luck tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.